Welcome to another episode of the Pierce Brothers. Today we're going to be doing another campfire episode, and we're going to be talking about our first guns. So with this, it's kind of a broad topic, but we kind of narrowed it down a little bit. First overall guns into some other kind of other first guns, I guess. I don't know quite how we narrowed it down, but we each were limited to maybe two to four guns each. Just to kind of highlight our first guns, favorite guns from our earlier years, so to say. So we'll start with Porter on the end, and then we'll work our way down to Dad.
All right. Well, that darn smoke. It's shifted right in your face. Well, my first gun was a Ruger single 6 22 long rifle. Dad gave this to me when I was 8. And anyways, it's been a really handy gun to have and just use all the time, especially when I was younger. I use it to shoot muskrats and rock chucks and other little pests like that all the time. I don't even know how many thousands of rounds I put through this. I mean, Joe and Jake and Will all got single 6 as well when they turned 8, and really handy gun. You know, they're fairly lightweight, very robust and reliable. This is an old model, so you can only load it with 5. But I switched out. I used to have the rubber grips on it, but I switched it out to wood grips just because I like the look of wood better. Anyways, that was my first gun, my first 6 gun, and anyways, it's always been with me ever since. I don't use it as much anymore just because I like the bigger calibers, but I still use it once in a while just to shoot stuff around the place or whatever. I got a Bianchi #1 holster that I carry it in. Very easy to carry, very natural to carry with that. My next gun I'm going to talk about is my Smith & Wesson Model 28 Highway Patrolman 6-shot. Anyways, this gun was my first big bore 6 gun. I've shot lots and lots of game with this. Yeah, it's been a really fun gun to have and to use. I got this one when I turned, I think it was 14 when I got it. I think 13, 14, right in there. But I used it all the time, shooting muskrats, beavers, other stuff like that, other pests around the house. I got a few coyotes with it over the years. Been used very hard and very, thousands of rounds to this as well. The grips, I put on a custom set of grips. I have smaller hands, so I like a narrower grip. That just makes me be able to get behind it a little bit better and feel like I can hold on to it a lot better. But yeah, this has been one of my favorite guns growing up and stuff. I quit carrying it as much because I have some other guns I like to carry more often, but this gun I still use it quite often nowadays. So anyways, on to you, Jake.
Okay. So like Porter mentioned, as kids we each got a single 6 and then a 22 rifle of some sort. Joe and I think each got Winchester 94s and 22. Mine never really worked ever. Like, it always just had constant jamming issues. But just kind of out of the interest of diversity, I thought I'd mention our chipmunk rifle. I'm not even sure how old we were, but we got this one year for Christmas.
Yeah, it was a 3-way tie because Will wasn't born yet.
Yeah, it was a 3-way gift.
Yeah.
I was probably like 4.
Yeah,
5.
Like 4. Yeah. I remember when we got it.
Yeah.
So I think I was like maybe 3. You might have been about 5, and Joe about 7. I think, maybe.
Well, and our dad each got a single 6, and they were our gun. We could use it whenever we wanted. We just didn't take possession of it full time until whenever he decided.
Yeah.
But yeah, the chipmunk. I'd probably use this more than any of them. Porter or Joe. I've shot this thing a bunch. I kept using it all the way up until I was like teens, 16, 17.
Yeah.
It's really tiny, but hard to get a good sight picture and stuff. But killed a lot of ground squirrels and stuff with this. So
Yeah.
now my niece has liberated it. So yeah, thinks it's her rifle.
Yeah.
But yeah, just out of a diversity, I thought I'd mention that. That was probably our true first gun, you know?
Yeah, true first
I
gun.
feel like a
It's little
cartoon
kids.
character holding this. It's so tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little single shot, really simple, but and it had some issues. Once the chamber would get dirty, it'd start sticking cases and whatnot, but it was a lot of fun. As a kid, I always loved single shots for some reason, and once I upgraded from this, I'd steal one of my dad's Winchester Model 67s, just a big single shot, and those are great rifles, and use that a lot. I actually preferred using those more than lever actions for some reason. So, when it comes to handguns, my very first centerfire handgun was in 1911. I saved up some money and then put some money with it, and I got it for Christmas when I was like 13 or 14. It's a high standard, made in the Philippines, so it was kind of inexpensive, but I no longer have that gun, but I still have 1911s, still one of my favorite handguns, and yeah, this one's just my Sondrum slide. Pretty nice handgun in its own right. So yeah, that was my first centerfire handgun. Was a 1911. I got a black powder revolver before that for Christmas. I think the year before that.
I remember those. Those were fun.
And yeah, that was a lot of fun. So yeah, those were my first guns. Will?
Okay, so for the first gun I was going to show was my first lever action. It's a Henry, just 22 caliber. Yeah, 22 caliber. Yeah, I shot a lot of this thing. The only thing that I never really liked was the reloading on it, which was that method. But yeah, I do prefer the reloading system on the 45 U Birdie that I have currently. I shot a lot with this. Yeah, not much to say beyond that, but
Yep. I guess Port and Jake already mentioned the single sixes, so I've got mine out here. Shoots a little high, so I put the front sight right at the base of the rear notch, and that hits about right on. But shot this a lot growing up. I don't know what ages, they mentioned 8, but I think I was 8 when I got my rifle, my Winchester 94-22. And then I was 12 when I got my single six, so I don't know. There's probably some discrepancy on ages, but
Well, Dad would let us pack them around the place, like
Yeah.
whenever we'd get on our bikes and ride all over the neighborhood with our single sixes on, and then we'd turn them into him at the end of the night,
yeah,
But
or guns in the armory or whatever. And then once I think I was 12 when I officially got to keep it. We had this little gun kind of vault safe up in our bedroom that we kept them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Like they mentioned, we shot a lot of small game with these. When I was in college, this scope is the same scope. I think it's a fixed 4-power scope, but still set up like I was 8. So I had to get my head back a little far.
Push that scope forward a little.
Yeah, but I mean, I've just left it that way because I think my son will use it quite a bit soon. But yeah, great rifle. Shot a lot of stuff with it. But when I was in college, there was a rabbit infestation in East Idaho one year. The rabbits were a lot worse than they had been for a while. So we went out and shot some rabbits, and I mean, I was still hitting like crazy. Super accurate with this gun. I could shoot it really well because I shot it so much growing up. Every day after school there for a long time, we'd come home and we'd throw there was a canal behind our house, and we'd throw little sticks in the canal, and we'd stand up there and shoot them all. That was kind of like our daily routine every day for a long time.
Yeah.
But then we'd go walk the place all the time for small game and that.
Muskrats and whatever else we could shoot.
Yeah. So yeah, any ground squirrels, rock chucks, all that kind of stuff. Rock chucks, I guess, what are those called? The yellow-bellied marmot? Is that their technical name? I don't know. Anyways, we call them rock chucks.
They're rock chucks. A lot of people back east call them woodchucks.
Woodchucks. Yeah. So, anyways, I mean, yeah, we shot these a lot growing up. I remember we'd save up money, and a brick of 500 rounds of 22 at Walmart. $8.98, yeah, at Walmart when we were kids, or $8.88, whichever.
Yeah.
First it was BBs, you know, when we were little, we'd go buy bricks of BBs, like the 5,000 round milk carton style
Like
BB
the
cans.
milk carton style.
And we'd go through 5,000 rounds in like every month.
Yeah, a month.
With our BB guns, yeah. So then we got into the old 22s, and it was a brick about every month.
Yeah.
So every Christmas, it was usually 22 ammo we'd get.
Yeah. That's what we wanted.
Yeah. But anyways, those were fun guns, and yeah, super fun. We shot them a lot. I got on Thanksgiving Day, it was my routine to go out and shoot muskrats every Thanksgiving morning. And one morning I got one from the hip with my with my 94-22. That was my most proud shot.
Yeah.
Another proud shot was at college shooting rabbits that night. It was dark, and this rabbit was probably 50 yards on the run, and I pulled up and hit him one shot and got him. Anyways, when I got older, we all got a gun of our choice for completing our Eagle project. And looking back, I should have picked a more expensive gun. But I chose a USFA, and back then they were cheap, you know, like $400 or something, $450. But this is a USFA rodeo that we took and antiqued and put the yellow kind of ivory grips on there, like John Wayne's gun.
Those are true ivory.
Yeah.
The USA offered them as a factory option.
Yeah.
I had to buy them separate for the rodeo, but yeah.
Yeah. And growing up, we watched a lot of John Wayne movies, and so I was a big John Wayne fan, and I wanted a 6-gun like John Wayne's. So that's what I got.
I got a 7.5 inch the same time Joe got that. And Porter got that Model 28 because he liked Walker Texas Ranger.
When I was debating on that versus a 44 Magnum, and I was 13, and I was like, I better just get the
357.
357. So.
Yeah, Port was the Chuck Norris fan when we were kids.
Well, and John Wayne.
Chuck Norris and John Wayne. Yep. The only time Porter ever cried as a kid was when John Wayne died on the Cowboys. Yep.
Yep.
So, those were my first ones. The fire actually feels nice today. Fall is finally here. Yeah. Our last few videos have been in the heat of summer, you know, so we're trying to sit as far back as we can. But today we're actually
100 degrees more by campfire.
Today we're actually enjoying the fire a little bit. So, yep. All right, on to Dad, I guess.
I was going to mention these boys. On their single sixes, I made a point to get them all early guns that had the XR3 grip frame and had the 222 caliber barrels, which were produced below 150,000 serial numbers. And they actually all shoot quite well. They, I remember when I got Porters, I stopped, when I got home, I stopped, shot it, and man, that thing just, I mean, it'd stack them, but, probably worn out now and doesn't shoot worth a hoot.
Yeah.
But yeah, they, anyway, been a long time ago since I got my first rifle. I covered this briefly on a previous campfire video. I got this when I was 8. Two of my older brothers chipped in, spent $19 and got a Winchester Model 67A. And just a little, very simple bolt action rifle. Believe it or not, a 27-inch barrel on that thing. And these were great little guns. It's too bad our modern world can't produce something so simple and yet what works so well as these. This thing taught me a lot about hunting, a lot about the importance of making a first shot count. Just general shooting. It was a great teacher. Like I said, I was 8 when I got it. Within just a few months, I proved myself safe enough to take it out on my own, and man, I've killed a lot of pests and varmints and other things with this thing. Great little rifle. Within a couple years, my I really loved handguns when I was a kid, and my dad had a Smith K22, but he also had a H&R Model 922 he'd had forever, and probably not familiar with this gun. Very homely looking, 9-shot revolver. They're odd though in that they're double action, but to load and unload you had to pull the base pin, and then the cylinder actually comes out either direction, and then of course you take the extractor rod and you push out your empties, and it was a little bit of a process. It was a very inexpensive gun when it was new, and it shot okay, nothing great, but okay. I didn't this is the actual one that was my dad's. I didn't have this too long until I upgraded to some better guns, but this was the first, and it was pretty interesting loading and unloading on horseback, which I did often because how that cylinder came out, and a single action is simple by comparison, but I going on to my other first real assist gun was a Colt single action. It was a 45 Colt, of course, a pre-war, and nobody wanted it because it had been customized by one of the old masters during the 20s or 30s. And this one's not it. The original got away from me, but that gun taught me a lot about hunting with handguns, loading my own ammunition, casting my own bullets, and so forth. But it was quite similar to this gun. It was had an aftermarket, rear sight. The frame had been slightly flat topped, a little bit of a ramp front sight on it. This one, of course, has ivory grips and has been engraved, but it was still very similar. 5.5-inch pre-war 45, built shortly after 1900. And great shooter. I learned a lot about hand loading with that gun, casting my own bullets, just shooting in general. It was a great teacher, and I took deer, black bear, elk with that thing. I don't know how many coyotes and other things on my trap line, but taught me respect for the 45 Colt cartridge, just how effective it is, even in a standard pressure mild loading. And but I was too young, too foolish to let that thing get away, and it's gone, and I wish I had not. But hindsight is always 20/20. My first real center fire, I'd had access to my dad's Model 700 Remington 243, one of the very first ones built. Used that on antelope and coyotes and other things. My dad's old 30-30, shot a bear with that, along with many deer and so forth. But I remember when I got my first one, I was about 13, and I had my size pretty early when I was young. I was 6'3" when I was 13, and Dad had bought a ranch down on the Gila River in Arizona, and the gentleman that he bought it from, it was the last day they were finishing up things, and the guy said, he looked at me and he said, I'd really like to have that anvil over there in the shop. And this guy was pretty much out of shape. He weighed about 400 pounds. He's about 5'10" at best. And he says, if you could take that anvil and put it in the back of my pickup, I'd give you a Winchester Model 94 30-30. Well, I always had to borrow my dad's 94 30-30 when I wanted a saddle rifle. And I had that offer. I'm like, okay, I don't know what that darn anvil weighed, but it was big and it was heavy. It had to weigh at least 400 pounds. But my pure determination to get that rifle, I had him back. He picked up that shed, and I got under that thing and heaved and hoed, and I went over and got that thing in the back of the pickup. It took every ounce of my strength to do it. And he looked at me and he said a few choice words. He said, I'll be danged. Thank you. And he went over and got in the back of his pickup and pulled out that rifle. I still have it. I didn't bring it out here because Joe has this limited down so many. But that rifle shoots very well. It was a late 50s gun. Of course, a pre-64 as we know it. He'd made a very fine blade front sight, which actually worked pretty good in the semi-buckhorn rear of that rifle. And I shot a lot of game with that thing. I'd just catch the tip of that blade a little bit, and man, it put the bullets right where you wanted, very reliably, very good. My first real bolt action rifle that I bought, this one has a Model 70 Winchester pre-64 from the Elmer Keith collection. But of course, I got to tell you a little bit of a story here briefly. Joe will get after me for taking too long. But, when I was a kid, about 8, 9, 10 years old, we had hunters that come out to our big old ranch, and we had a ranch with over 5,000 deeded acres, but with state and BLM, it was actually over 50,000. We had great deer and antelope hunting and so forth. And there was a group of doctors that come up from California, and I would saddle horses for them and retrieve their birds and whatever else they were hunting, take them out and just help them find the antelope herds and whatever. I was the most disposable, if you will, of the family, because I was the youngest, and so the least valuable from a work standpoint. So Dad had always put me on that. And I remember a doctor came out, and he had a pre-64 Model 70 and 264 Win Mag. It was the featherweight, so it only had the 22-inch barrel. And that was the first I'd ever heard of a 264. And he's chambering rounds, and it was dusk, and he's shooting, and man, the ball of flame out the muzzle of that thing was like, wow. And I remember picked up the cases, he'd kick them on the ground. I saw 264 Win Mag, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool round, because it had all this powder, very small caliber. And anyway, but I quickly learned in my youth about the value of the pre-64 Model 70s from some of the old timers that knew the difference between the post-64 and the pre-64. And the pre-64 was even legendary at that time. So when I got old enough to buy my first, I bought a standard weight 30-06, very similar to this, high comb stock, very reliable rifle. It didn't matter what load you shot in it. It just shoot. And I remember putting on a Weaver scope until that finally came apart on me, and then I went to a Redfield 3-9. And but that gun accounted for a lot of game for me. That was my first real hunting rifle that I bought on my own money. And so yeah, there's some stories in there, but I don't want to hog all the time here. But that's those were my firsts, and kind of put me on a good road to future. It's important to emphasize I'd had a lot of experience with other guns from my brothers, from hired hands, guns that were my dad's, that I'd had a lot of shooting experience before I started buying my first of anything. But yeah, those were the days. Those first guns.
Yeah.
Exciting, because your youth, it's like, oh man, my first 30-06 or my first 45 Colt, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I still get excited. I guess I'm a kid at heart.
Yeah. Aren't we all? We're always buying guns and knives. Yeah. Well, we'd like you to throw in the comments what your first guns were, and maybe what gun you wish you had now, or the gun you wish you'd bought. I think that's probably a topic for another video we might throw in. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you what your first gun was, or what your first guns were, and why you like them, what you used them for, all of that. So we appreciate the support, and we hope to see you next time on our episodes. We've got a lot more coming up. Check back next weekend for our first, we're going to do our Mini 14 weekend. So a themed weekend on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll have Mini 14 videos out. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. So check back next weekend, and we'll see you then.